I love being around such intelligent women that inspire me. I've volunteered in my own community, but I still think volunteering with Alpha Phi is the best experience and very rewarding. And what I want for Alpha Phi in the future would be strength, ensuring our future, strength in membership, and safety.
But I think that keeping the focus on the long range goals is very important. So what are those goals? To be successful and competitive. And that means being aware of the culture in each chapter and what it takes to be successful on that campus. It means maintaining a connection with the members of the organization after they finish college so that they will be the future stewards of the organization. And I think that it also is important to recognize that we're basically a friendship organization, and that friendship is what keeps us all together. My hope is at the core that we continue to grow the organization. There are many campuses where we would love to join the system, but just growth for the sake of growth is not particularly important. Growth for the sake of strengthening the organization is. And by strengthening the organization, I mean gather new members and bring new people into the conversation and to help Alpha Phi's audience become wider. I hope that we will be wise enough, prudent enough, strong enough to withstand however the popularity of Greek organizations comes in the future.
I want Alpha Phi to be Alpha Phi Intergalactic Fraternity. And that is just how I feel about it. Why not? Because friendships will always be the essence of who we are and what we do. And it is something that women need and enjoy.
You know, I don't know that I can say what we can do better. What I can say is don't change who we are. I love that we're different from a lot of the other Greek organizations. I love that we just go forward. We have innovative ideas and we're not afraid to try them out. I think we have bold leaders. And I think that comes from the way that we have always been from our member selection. We don't have bias. We're not looking for a certain type. We bring in people who we like and who are positive and who add. I remember when I went through Rush, there were almost no Hispanics going through Rush. I definitely felt like they knew I was because my maiden name is Hernandez. But you know, I was second generation, so not so much seeming that way on the outside. But I could tell that some of the houses were not going to take me in because that isn't the kind of member that they generally wanted to bring in. And Alpha Phi was like, it's colorblind. And I would hope that it would continue to be that way. Be diverse, welcome diversity, be respectful of differences. All of that is really helpful. And I think continuing to train the advisors to help the chapter members get that too is important. I remember when I was in the chapter as an advisor, there were women who were upset because we were saying the Alpha Phi grace before meals, and they were not Christian. You know, they were whatever they were. And, you know, rather than creating an issue around that, it was like, well, why don't we do a different grace, you know, every week, and somebody else from some other background can do their grace. And so we're all sort of doing it, and we're learning somebody else's whatever it is that they do, their customs. And it doesn't have to be, it has to be all this or all that. It can be a blend. And I think just problem solving and not being so defensive about what we have, being a little bit on the easy side, kind of California-like, is helpful. I have actually looked on since I've been on the board with amazing respect for all the various boards that have taken on these jobs. It's a lot of work. It really is. No, even if it is a governance board, everybody's so excited to add a new chapter, and it takes rallying a lot of people to make that happen, and a lot of legwork, and it takes our alums to do that. So I don't know that what we can do better. I actually feel like we're doing a lot of things right, and at least me, I'm now so far removed, I'm just proud, that I'm proud of Alpha Phi, and I'm proud of my association with it and my time that I got to spend.
First of all, one thing we knew early on, it's cyclical. And frankly, as wonderfully well as things are going now, there's going to come a period of time when they're not going to be going nearly as well. And so we just happened in the 60s, 70s to hit a cycle that fraternities, women's and men's, were just not much in favor. And they were considered very, very snobbish. They were considered that you had to have money. And I heard something interesting here on that whole subject, which reminds me again that this cyclical thing will happen. A woman with 2 young children was crossing the street just in front of where Martin and I are staying, and I heard her say to her children, "Well, you can have a perfectly good time without being in a sorority and spending all that money." And I was sorely tempted to say, run over across the street and say, "Oh, wait just a minute," but then I thought, A, she'll think I'm a fool, B, I won't convince her anyway, and C, the shuttle's coming and I'm supposed to be someplace. So, but as I said, and I thought, well, these kids may be part of the next cycle when things turn down a little bit. If very many mothers are saying things like, well, you don't need a sorority because you can have fun without spending all that money.
When you were in the trenches, did you think that it would be what it is today, what Alpha Phi is today, with this many chapters?
No, I had absolutely no idea. And I think one of the things that pleases me the very most is that we are strong now in the South. Because frankly, this is one thing as a collegian I used to think about when we would talk about, frankly, how great Alpha Phi was. And I would sort of think to myself, well, yeah, we're fine in 3 parts of the country, but can you really claim that you're all that wonderful if you have one whole section of the country where your name isn't known at all and everybody thinks that you're Alpha Phi? And that brings me to the fact that while I was on the board, Betty Jones and I seemed to have the job of going to closed chapters. And either we closed Gamma Phi chapter, and I had a wonderful talk today with the president who's here about how great the chapter is. They're award-winning, and it's just really, really wonderful. But that was a chapter that Betty Jones and I closed down. We closed down Memphis State, several others. Lander, Newberry, I guess those closed right after Betty and I went, well, after Betty went out and 2 years later when I went out. So as I say, that to me, the fact that we are a presence in the South now is tremendously satisfying. I'm just delighted. And every time I hear about extension in the South, I'm especially pleased all over again. I'm a born optimist anyway, but I can't imagine even a born pessimist would have to be encouraged about what is happening with the fraternity today. And I think we have some of the best leadership in recent years. I think we all have our favorite presidents. You may want to edit this part too. We all have our favorite presidents, and then we tend to have some that we think maybe didn't put quite as much into it as as our favorites did. And in recent years, they have all been favorites of mine. I think we have had excellent leadership. And I did have, Marge and I were talking about it today. When you see the international president up dancing around and swinging the hips and what have you, it's lots and lots of fun. But I think about the president who signed my charter, and or my initiation, and I think she would die. She would absolutely die. There was no way that she would be up there dancing at all. I mean, they were very, very, well, they were older. And of course, when you're young, everybody seems older, but they were older, and they were older acting, just like our mothers were older acting. I can't speak for your mother, but mothers of my generation were older acting. And so these ladies, you admired them tremendously. They were elegant. They were really, really elegant. And some of them were elegant and down to earth at the same time. And that was really the best combination. But they would never have been up on a stage dancing and being part of a skit or anything of that sort. Never, ever, ever. But that's a generational difference. Well, the easy thing, if I wanted to wind this up quickly, I could just say tell them, well, keep on track just the way you're going. But I think you'd like to have something a little deeper than that, perhaps. And so I would say just remember what Alpha Phi has been, remember what it is, think about what it is, and then really think about what it can be in the future. And in some ways, I don't think Alpha Phi can be any better, but there's always a challenge to keep what is the best, or keep what is better going the way it is. So that's not much in the way of advice, but it's all I can come up with offhand. It means simply that. It means that for your lifetime, you're going to care, you're going to do what you can. This is silly. You're going to do what you can, and you're going to hang in there and hope all your friends hang in with you too. And that I would certainly edit if I were doing it. But no, I think a lifetime commitment is just exactly what it says it is, and it's caring and doing what you can. And as you get older and you can't do as much, you still send good thoughts.
Well, for me, now I'm looking back on it, I wish I would have been more involved with Panhellenic. I wish I would have been, I was involved within my own Alpha Phi chapter, but I wish I would have just branched out a little more to the whole Greek system and expanded my networking. I wish I would have done that. And I wish I would have started with the Alpha Phi alumni right out of college. I wish I would have gotten involved because, you know, it's just so fulfilling and you meet so many great people, and really it's only an hour out of a month normally, you know, for a meeting, and then maybe to do some help as far as volunteering. I wish I would have done that. I didn't, and so here I am today, the president of my local alumni association, and I couldn't be happier.